So if you notice it, till last class what we have been studied, characteristics of chemical reactions, or we can say features of chemical reactions. So totally we'll be having 6 features of chemical reactions. What is that, guys? First one is evolution.
Evolution,
Gas.
Yes.
Second one is
formation of
Formation
precipitate,
of precipitate.
formation of precipitate. And the third one is
Change in
change in
color.
color,
change in color. Fourth one,
Change in temperature.
change in temperature. Yeah. Change in temperature. And the fifth one is change in state.
change in state,
And the last one, in the last class, I explained you in detail. That is change
Change in
change in
order.
order.
change in order. So now, here, order alone, what is the example we studied in the last class? 2 examples I taught you. So that is,
Iron sulfide plus
yeah, iron sulfide, FeS will react with a dilute
Dilute sulfuric acid.
H2SO4.
sulfuric
We is to get what? It will give the what will
Iron
give
sulfate.
iron sulfide
iron sulfate plus
SO4 plus
hydrogen sulfate.
Hydrogen sulfide.
hydrogen sulfide.
Sulfate,
Hydrogen sulfide. So what is the smell of this hydrogen sulfide? Rotten egg.
rotten egg smell.
Yes. Rotten egg smell it will give. And also, as I told you, alcohol will react with alcohol will
Ethanoic
react
acid,
with ethanoic acid. What is another name of ethanoic acid?
acetic acid,
So alcohol will react with the ethanoic acid in the presence of what? In the presence
Mineral acid.
in the presence of mineral acid. Presence of mineral acid. What do you mean by mineral acid, Shruti?
laboratory acid,
Laboratory acids.
So they will give you the smell of what? They will give
Fruity
you
smell.
fruity smell of ester,
fruity smell of ester. So ester is the one of the functional group which we'll study in the higher classes. So let it be. So now if it comes to here, this is all about what is chemical reactions and as well as what is the chemical characteristics or features of chemical reaction. So now Durga and as well as Karthik, you have to complete till here everything clearly, and if you have doubt you have to ask me. Okay, so now if you notice it here, then we are going to continue from here. So that is what chemical equations. So chemical reactions you understand. So what do you mean by chemical reactions? Suppose somebody will ask you, Mukesh, what you will say? Somebody asks you what is chemical reaction, what you will say? It's a simple definition. One and
new substance,
yes, new substances, that's all. Chemical equations, the chemical reactions they are asking. So you have to, your answer also should be in the form of chemistry. So what you will say? What do you say, Prakash?
Old bonds will break and new bonds forms.
Very good, Elmukil. So we can say that old bonds between the atoms will be broken and they will be what? They will form the new bonds between the atoms. So that is only we used to call a chemical reaction. So now from here we are going to study that is what the chemical reactions over. Now chemical reactions will represent in the form of chemical formulae and as well as balanced manner. So that is what we used to call as chemical equations. Yes or no? So that is what we are going to study now. So please all of you keep reading chemical equations. Chemical equations. So now let us study, for example, chemical reaction. So now, for example, chemical reaction means, let me take example of formation of water. Formation of water, chemical reaction means how we can say, Maitreya, how we can say formation of water, chemical reaction. Anybody? Reaction I'm asking.
H2 plus O2 is equal to
That is what I'm saying, Mayal Mukil. What I'm asking reaction. Reaction means I have to say in the form of sentence. It's not in the form of chemical equation. You understand?
Sir, when hydrogen is burnt in oxygen, it
Chemical
forms
reaction
water.
means which will represent in the form of sentence. Understand? So that is, there is no kind of a symbolic formula and etc. etc. So we'll write the, for example, formation of water means we'll write hydrogen will react with the water. Sorry, hydrogen react with the what?
Oxygen.
Yes, hydrogen react with water, sorry, with the oxygen and gives you what? And
Water.
gives
Water.
you water. So that is what? Chemical reaction. Now, what do you mean by chemical equation? So now if you, for example, if you take a chemical reaction can be described in the form of sentence. Have you noticed it? Sentence I'm writing, but in this form, description of reaction is too long. Understand? So we have to write hydrogen is going to react with water. Understand? And it will gives you we're reacting with oxygen and will gives you water. But if you take here, if you wish to describe a reaction, for example, zinc and sulfuric acid. So let me take the reaction. Tell me, zinc and sulfuric acid reaction. Zinc and sulfuric acid. One more example. Tell me. Zinc will react with what? Please respond.
Sulfuric acid and gives you
Sulfuric
zinc
acid.
sulfate and hydrogen.
Yeah, zinc reacts with
Sulfate and hydrogen gas.
sulfuric acid to form what? To form what, Pradosh?
Sulfate
Sulfate and hydrogen
plus
gas.
hydrogen gas.
Plus, you should not say zinc sulfate and hydrogen gas because we are writing a chemical reaction. Understand, Mukesh? We are not supposed to say plus, okay? A gas. But if we'll take here, we are writing C. Very, very big sentence format we are writing. And also, have you noticed it, guys? Very large number of reactions available, so that it is very difficult to describe all of them in such a lengthy sentence. So that is the reason, in order to overcome this difficulty, and have you noticed one more drawback of writing chemical reaction? Anybody? Let me see who will think very smart. One more, we have a drawback, big drawback in a form of chemical reaction. If you write the given chemical reaction in the form of sentence, we'll having another big disadvantage. What is that? Anybody? First,
We can't able to find valency and balance.
very good, very good. So we cannot overcome this difficulty, and as well as very huge number of equations are there. So we cannot remember in the form of this lengthy sentences. And as well as you can see, a chemical reaction should be explained by a shorthand method which will help symbols and as well as formulae. And main thing, number of atoms present in reactant side, number of atoms present in product side. So they must be balanced always. Yes or no, guys? Because law of conservation of energy. What it will say? Law of conservation of energy. Energy neither be created nor be destroyed. Understand? So the number of atoms present in reactant side, they must be equals to the same number of atoms in present in the product side. Is it possible to change the number of atoms of a particular element? Anyone? Is it possible to change the number of atoms of a particular element?
No, sir.
No.
No, sir.
No. If you write in the form of sentence, are you able to find how many elements are there? How many atoms are there? Are you able to
No,
find?
sir.
No. So that
No,
is the
sir.
disadvantage and very difficult to analyze the chemical equation also. So that is the reason we people will write these chemical equation, chemical reaction, this full complete sentence, we'll write it with the help of what? With the help of symbols. You understand? And as well as formulae, chemical formulae. So this writing the chemical reaction in the form of symbols and formulae is only known as what we used to call chemical equation. So what is the simple definition of chemical equation? Writing the chemical reaction, understand, in the form of what? With the help of symbols and formulae is only called as chemical equation. Understand, Shruti? Or else we can say, if you want to simplify more, writing the chemical equation, chemical reaction in shorthand representation or a brief representation of a chemical reaction by using what, Pradosh? Two words you have to write. That is symbols and formulae. Okay, of the element and compounds is only called as chemical equation. Any doubt, guys? Please respond. That is what we have to do it. So please all of you keep reading chemical equations and write the definition. Laksha, understand? The shorthand representation. The shorthand representation. The shorthand representation or brief representation of a chemical reaction. Any doubt anybody can ask me? Of a chemical reaction by using what? By using the
Symbols and formulae.
Symbols and formulae of the elements and compounds. So this is what we used to call as chemical reactions. Any doubt? Anybody can ask me. Chemical equations. So writing the chemical reactions in form of symbols and formulae is only we used to call as chemical equations. That's how simply we can say. Yes or no, guys? That is. So now let us take examples. Two examples already we studied as chemical equations. So chemical reactions. What is that? Is it everybody is there? Those just verify once. Anybody is missing? Tamil Selvan? I think somebody is missing. Asrita, good morning. Yes, for brothers. Adarshan. Adarshan joined. I have seen him. Yeah. Now, example, right? I will say the chemical reaction. You tell me the chemical equation. Let me see who will say, right? When methane burns in oxygen, it produces, what is it produces? Anybody? It produces carbon dioxide and water. So now this is what we used to call as chemical reaction or chemical equation. It is the
Chemical reaction.
Now we have to write chemical equation. So let me see who will say chemical equation. Sekti, learn the formulas now itself. Again I'm saying, again you won't get time to study. Now methane they are saying. So what is methane formula? Methane. CH4. Understand? CH4. Sharing electrons, understanding, not by donating electrons. Methane, CH4, understanding, react with the oxygen. So oxygen is a what? Diatomic or monatomic molecule? Diatomic molecule. Always present together. Understand, Alana? That is. So now, we'll give you what, guys? Products, tell me, anybody. This is what we used to call as reactants. What is the reactants here? These are called as
methane and oxygen.
Methane and oxygen.
Yes. Now we give you the products. What is the products? Carbon dioxide. Water.
H2O.
That is very good. So now, if you notice it very carefully, so as we notice it here, carbon dioxide, you can see hydrogens here 4 are there. Here only 2 are there. So we have to balance it. So what do we have to do? Any idea? Anyone? What we have to do?
Sir, add 2 in water.
Carbon
Add 2 in water.
hydrogens here 4 and here 2. So that what we have to do? Here we have to multiply 2. So 2H2O. And you see, I try to balance the hydrogen, but oxygen become imbalanced. Oxygens are 2 plus 2, 4. But here how many? Only 2 are there. So that here I multiply with what? I'll
Again, 2.
multiply with 2.
Into 2.
So that is one. Now I will say you how to balance it. Before going to that, you must study this. So this is what we used to call it as chemical equation. What is the advantage of this equation? You tell me, anybody? From this equation, what we can say? From this equation. From this equation, we can come to know. Yes, you can see, we can come to know. We can get that one molecule of, how many molecules here? One molecule of methane. Understanding? One molecule of methane is reacting with how many? Reacts with how many molecules?
2 molecules of oxygen.
Understand? 2 molecules of oxygen. You should tell me oxygen to produce what? To produce
Carbon dioxide
Carbon
and
dioxide.
water.
one
One
molecule
molecule of
one
carbon dioxide.
molecule of CO2 and tell
2
me
2
molecules of water.
molecule of water.
2 molecules of
2 molecules of water. So that is the thing which we are getting. Yes or no, Manish? So this is the thing we are getting. So if you'll understand, this is what chemical equation we used to call. So hope you all understand. So now we will study how to write the chemical equation. Any doubt, guys? Shall we start? Yes. So now,
Yes, sir.
please all of you keep reading. Writing a chemical equation. Mahalakshmi, have you understand? Writing chemical equation. So this is what very important. So as I told you, we'll be having two kinds of equations. Chemical equations are two types. What is that? Anybody? So chemical equations are two types. I will say you that. So that is what one is word equation we can say. Understanding? What is the first one? Word equation. And the second one is symbolic. Okay. Symbolic equation. Clear, everyone? Yes?
Yes, sir.
Now, also notice it. Now itself I am saying the symbolic equation, again we will say two types. That is only, see, for example, before I am writing, what is the equation I am writing? I am writing CH4 plus O2 will gives you what, Pradosh? CO2 plus H2O. Understand? So now you notice it, it's not balanced. Number of atoms are not equals to product side and reactant side. Number of atoms are not same. Yes or no? Yes. So this is only called as unbalanced equation. Yes or no, guys? Please
Yes, sir.
respond. So that is what. So symbolic equation again two types. That is what unbalanced equation. Okay, guys. What is that? Unbalanced equation. And the second one is what?
Balanced equation.
Balanced equation. Okay. So this unbalanced equation only, or we can say skeletal equation. What was to call, guys? Skeletal equation. So please remember that. Very, very important. So my voice is breaking, Durga. Just check it. Is it my voice is breaking, guys?
No, sir.
No, sir. No, sir.
Just check it. So now this is what we used to call as. So all of you remember. So unbalanced equation, what we used to call, guys? What we used to call? Skeletal.
Skeletal equation.
So that is what you have to see it. Now, how to write a word equation and as well as symbolic equation. Now we'll study. Later balancing equation we will go it. Is it okay, everybody? Please respond. So now,
Yes.
let us see. Now, if you notice it, first of all, writing a chemical equation. So let us take the well famous equation of us. That is what? A zinc and dilute sulfuric acid. So example number 1, which is already we know that reaction between, what is that? Reaction between zinc.
Zinc and diluted.
Understand? So that is what. So now what is the word equation? Tell me. Word equation. Everyone. Word equation I want. Please let me know who will say. zinc plus dilute sulfuric acid. Dilute sulfuric acid will gives you what, guys? Will gives you what? Zinc sulfate
Zinc
Zinc
sulfate
sulfur.
plus what?
hydrogen gas.
Hydrogen gas.
So this is only what we used to call Shakti. This is called as word equation. Understand? Yeah, Karthik, no response. You have to involve in the class. Everybody, don't be silent again. I'm saying. So this is what. So now zinc plus dilute sulfuric acid will give you what? Zinc sulfate plus hydrogen. Yes or no? Now, in the terms of symbols and formulae, anybody? In the terms of symbols and formulae.
Zinc plus H2SO4.
Zn plus H2SO4.
Yes. Zn plus, if you say somebody of you, then your friends are speaking so that you can understand. Zn plus H2SO4 will give you what?
ZnSO4.
Zn-SO4.
Plus,
Plus H2.
H2O.
that is what. So now if you notice it, these two are called as, what we used to call, guys? Reactants. And after the arrow, we used to call as what? Product. So always you have to remember chemical equations we used to represent understanding. So with what? If more than one reactant is involving, we'll represent with what? Plus sign in between them. If more than one product is coming, we'll represent again with what? Plus sign in between them. Do you understand, everybody? So first of all, writing word equation is the first step. Understand? Writing the word equation is first step. So what we will do, we will write the compounds of the reactants and products. Reactants will put in one side and before arrow, and the products will write after arrow. Now if you notice it, if more than one reactant is there, we will combine them. How we can represent them? We'll represent them between them. What we can keep? We'll keep the plus sign. Understand? And products also same thing. So always you remember, we have to write the reactants on left side and we have to write the products on what? Right side. Okay. And middle who will be there? Middle we are separating with the what?
Arrow mark.
Understand? So before arrow reactants, after arrow products. If more than one reactant or more than one product, we have to separate them with what symbol? We have to separate them with a plus symbol. That is what you have to remember. This is the first step of writing word equation. Next, what is the second equation? Writing the skeletal equation. What is the second step, guys? Writing the skeletal equation. Clear? So that is. So let it be. This is the example. Already we know that. Now let me take writing word equation, which is will help us to take. So step one. What is the step one? Writing chemical equation. Sorry, word equation. Word equation. Now already we studied in the starting of this chapter. First chemical reaction. Anybody can tell me what is that equation? Writing word equation. First we have studied that. That is only, what is that? Magnesium
plus
oxygen will give you magnesium oxide. So what is this called as? Magnesium oxide. What is this called as? Word equation.
word equation.
What are called as what? Reactants. And next one is called as what?
Product.
Yeah, that is the first thing. Next, step two, writing skeletal equation. Everywhere you have to follow. This is the thing. Writing what? Writing skeletal equation. What do you mean by skeletal equation?
Unbalanced equation.
Yeah, simply you can say unbalanced equation. So why we should balance the chemical equation? Anybody? Why we should balance the chemical equation? Because law of conservation of energy should be satisfied. Yes or no? Law of conservation of mass. The chemical equation must be balanced. That is the importance of balancing chemical equation. I will say. Writing skeletal equation. Tell me, what is the chemical equation in the form of this? What you can write? Skeletal equation means replacing with the
Mg
symbols.
plus-
Magnesium symbol is what? Durga?
Mg
Magnesium symbol.
Mg plus O2
Mg plus
Oxygen what?
O2
O2
Will gives you. What is that?
Magnesium oxide.
MgO.
MgO.
What is it here? See, oxygen is not balanced. Yes or no, Tamil Selvan? Oxygen here, 2 atoms are there. But here, how many atoms are there? Only one atom is there. Understanding?
Two, sir.
Here, oxygen atoms are 2 atoms. But here, oxygen atom is only 1 atom. So, that is why this is called as which equation? Skeletal equation. What do you mean by skeletal equation? Unbalanced.
Unbalanced.
Skeletal equation. Now, after that, what is the step 3? What is the step?
Balanced equation.
What is the balancing? Writing balanced chemical equation. Writing balanced chemical equation. For everywhere you have to follow this all. Balanced chemical equation. Everybody make it. Balanced chemical equation. Clear, everyone? Yes, that is. So now balance, tell me. So magnesium plus oxygen will gives you MgO. Now we have here two oxygen atoms, but here only one. So that we have to multiply what? Front, we have to change it. So 2 MgO. I try to balance oxygen, but who became imbalanced? Magnesium became imbalanced. So here magnesium also 2 atoms are there, but here what? Only one. So that I write what? Here
2 magnesium.
2 Mg plus O2 will give you 2 MgO. So this is what is called as, what is to say? Balanced.
Equation.
Okay, balanced equation. That is what. Now, the important question: why we should balance the chemical equation? That is what. Why we should balance chemical equation? Why? What is the importance? What is the importance?
Law of
To
conservation.
satisfy the law of conservation of energy.
So why we should balance chemical equation? That is, it needs to follow what? To follow the law of conservation of what? Law of conservation of mass. Means what? The number of atoms in reactant side is must be equals to what? Reactants and products must be equal. Understand? Must be equal. That is the one first thing. Next, what is the second importance? Second importance, we must know how much amount of reactants is needed, how much amount of products are coming. Yes or no, guys? For example, before we have been studied. So what is this here? Methane reacting. Tell me methane reacting. So if we balance the equation, we can get information. What is that? How many molecules of reactants are reacting and how many products we are getting. We can come to know or not. Yes or no? So here, how we can say 1 molecule of methane because of balancing only. Yes or no, Alana? Yes, please. Shruti. So if we balance it, then only we can come to know how many molecules of particular compound or element is reacting and how many different kind of products, how many moles of different kind of products we are getting actually. You understand? Because class 9th you studied mole concept. Do you remember, guys? Mole concept? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
We will represent in term of mole concept only. So we can know how many molecules of, see, you can see here. We are saying how many molecules of methane? 1 molecule of methane reacts with how many? 2 molecules of oxygen to produce 1 molecule of carbon dioxide and as well as what? 2 molecules of
Oxygen.
So, is it possible to say this number of molecules without balancing? Sai, is it possible? Sheshaini? No, that is so. It is not possible to say how many molecules are reacting and how many molecules are getting in product side without balancing the chemical equation. So that is the second equation, to know how many molecules are reacting. Understand? To know how many molecules are atoms are reacting in reactant side, and how many molecules or atoms are obtained in product side. So that is the importance of balancing chemical equation. Understand, Mukesh Garde? So why we should balance the chemical equation? You understand. So how do we know whether the chemical equation is balanced or not? And if it is not balanced, then how to balance it and how we can get the detailed explanation of chemical equation. So whenever if I'm saying chemical equation, so chemical reaction alone I will give you.
Can you repeat the sentence?
We can come to know how many molecules or atoms are reacting in reactant side and how many molecules or atoms are obtained in product side. That is what it is. Okay, Sita? Yes, Karthik?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So now I will teach you. So whenever, Elmukil, we have to follow the 3 steps now. Whenever I have given you chemical reaction, you have to follow 3 steps. What is that? First of all, you have to write what? Writing the word
equation.
Second one,
Word
what?
equation.
Writing the
Writing
chemical
equation.
equation.
Yes.
Third one, what? Writing.
Balancing
Balanced equation.
Sir, balanced chemical equation, basically they will ask you, if it is descriptive exam, 2 marks they will ask you. Understand? So we have to follow some steps also. Simply if I'll balance it, if it is MCQ, you can balance it directly. But if it is descriptive, we have to follow 2 steps. And balancing chemical equation, how do you balance it? If it is not balanced, how to verify? This is all. It should be happen in mind itself. And sometimes you are not supposed to even you are not supposed to touch in paper also, because that much experience you have to get it from the balancing chemical equation. So I will teach you some different techniques also, some tricks also, how to balance chemical equation, and that all the things how to balance it with the examples. Plenty of examples we will study with the help of tricks also. Now one thing I want to say you, see, present batch, one student name called as Nitish. So why I am just mentioning, at the starting stage, I still remember he used to struggle with even balancing a simple equation also. But after a certain period of time, I'm not joking, he used to say the balancing chemical equation in mind itself, whatever the equation. That much drastical change I have been noticed, because he used to practice hundreds of equations at the starting when he used to come. He is our student only. So later, he has been done. Even I used to surprise when he is answering during the classes. Like that, he has been changed. So I will teach you even the tricks also, which will make the equation very easily. But the only thing is, we have to learn with the help of practice. So that is the only possible way. So now let us take, all of you keep heading, balancing chemical equations. Balancing chemical equations. That is the next concept which we are going to study. So whenever I will say you chemical reaction, 3 steps you have to write. What is the 3 steps, Tamil Selvan? Balancing the chemical equations. What are the 3 steps? One is word equation. Next one is what? Skeletal equation. And the third step is balancing chemical equation. Okay. Now, my kind request, before going to the balancing chemical equation, I want to say you some prerequisite. That is what all of you should remember. Whatever it is, for example, you take magnesium oxide, MgO, understand? H2O, water, calcium hydroxide, CaOH twice, magnesium hydroxide, MgOH twice, understanding? Iron sulfate, FeSO4. All of you should remember, whenever we are balancing, understanding, we are not supposed to change this subscript or whatever it is present here. Do you understand, everybody? We don't have right to change the anything in this formula. Understand, Elmukel, Pradosh, everybody? So, whatever you want to do the balancing equation, it is only possible to change at the coefficient place only. Kindly, all of you remember, at the coefficient. So here only we can we are having a right to change either 1 or 2 or